All right, this is exciting, isn't it?
Here we go, guys, in 5, 4, 3.
Here we go.
It's time for Joan Esposito. Live, local, and progressive.
Thank you for the good programming, and I appreciate the content and really enjoyed every moment.
It's a privilege to have you on your station and listen. It's good stuff. It's very educational.
It's time for Joan Esposito on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, good afternoon. Guess what? We got a special clip for you, but you might be going, oh, wait a minute, that's not Joan. Hey, it's Richard Chu. I'm sitting in for Joan Esposito. You guys know me from Chu's Views, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. here on the wonderful center of the universe of progressive talk, WCPT. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. Joan is taking a Joan day, and I'm here hanging out with Lady B, and we're going to bring you all the good stuff. We've got a load of folks that are going to be talking to. In the 2:30 hour, Naomi Davis will be with us, and we'll be chatting about some things that are going on, not only with the Obama Center opening, but some of the things that are taking place in the Woodlawn area of Chicago, some tours that will be taking place, and Naomi is one of the lead voices there. And in the 3 o'clock hour, yeah, we're going to be laughing, hopefully not snorting too much. Frangela, the comedy duo that you guys have heard on this station before, and you may have seen them when they've been in town for various Stephanie Miller Sexy Liberal Tour events. They will be with us in the 3 to 4 o'clock hour. So we're going to be yucking it up for a while, and we'll get some political conversation in as well. Randy Manor, our House General, I guess you could say, he is a retired general that is a voice that you hear here on WCPT, but kind of anywhere the conversation is when we're talking about our military. And keeping with that theme, we'll be talking with Amy McGrath, who's candidate for Senate in Kentucky. And she's going to be with us to talk a little bit about what's happening with our military as well. So we've got a full lineup of folks, and we want to get your text messages this afternoon on anything that might be on your brain that you want to talk about. And that number, of course, is 773-763-9278. Make your way over to our Facebook page. Make your way over to heartlandsignal.com. I say this every morning on Chu's Views. If you are challenged with what to talk about, who to talk with about it, or what can I share with someone that's in my network of people that tells me that it's fake news or that what I'm saying is not true. If you go to heartlandsignal.com, I'm telling you, you will be armed with material information from some of the best digital folks in our team that you can imagine. So make sure that you spend some time at heartlandsignal.com and like and share the articles and the posts that we have there. So, and the clips as well. And speaking of clips, Lady B's got one prepared for you guys that I want you to hear. And then I've got some commentary on the backside. Let's go for it, Lady B.
Every day I wake up and I try to be a little bit better and a little bit kinder than I was the day before. And if you give me the chance, I will be a senator for the people who cannot afford to buy a senator. I will stand up for you and against billionaires and greedy corporations. I will serve you, the people of Maine, not some lobbyist or party boss. I will be the champion for your dreams as if it were my own, no matter the challenge or the expense. I will fight for you. I have been willing to die for my country. There is nothing that I will not do for the state of Maine. You have lifted me up. You have had my back. This is the state that raised me, and this is the state that saved me. Now, I am not a deeply religious man, and yet I cannot help but think tonight about a hymn. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Found because of the grace of the people of Maine. This story, the story of this campaign, is not about how the political establishment counted me out. It's about for how far too long the political establishment has counted out the voices of every single person without the money to buy influence. But they don't know Maine.
Great speech written, Lady B. The person that wrote that did a great job of putting together words that sort of bring that state together right now, particularly the Democratic Party and many of the independents that are there. So well-written speech and, frankly, well-delivered by Graham Plattner, who is now the Democratic nominee for Senator in Maine. He will be going up against Susan Collins in a seat that is going to be highly contested. There is going to be a ton of money thrown at that race. There already has been in terms of the primary. There will be even more when we get into the general. I was very clearly and unapologetically critical of how we got to the point where we were last week with the release of certain information on Graham Plattner. But the thing that I said, and without caveat, was that we have to win that seat. And whether it be Janet Mills or it be Graham Plattner, that we have to win that seat. It's critically important that we get behind him now. We know that that there are those issues that have come forward. But at the end of the day, Susan Collins has been far more destructive to the health, mental health, the physical health, the maternal health of women in the state of Maine than Graham Plattner's, the issues that came forward. So what I like about the speech and what he said in terms of the wording is he once was lost and now he's found. It comes from the song Amazing Grace, in case you didn't know. I think that's what we as a Democratic Party have to be willing to do. We know that we run hard and fast and make mistakes. I think you guys have heard me say this before on Choose Views, that, clean up on aisle 7 is kind of my, phrase I use to when I say something that's not quite correct, or I missed something that wasn't intentional, or made a statement that I said the wrong word came out at the wrong time. Clean up on aisle 7. Let's clean it up and let's move forward. And I think that's what Maine made the decision to do with Graham Plattner. Is like, listen, to beat Susan Collins, we need someone that's going to speak to the people in a way in which the people have been asking to be spoken to. So kudos to him, but more importantly, kudos to the state. The voters there made the determination that this is who they want as their candidate. And the reason I'm talking about this in this manner is one of the things that we have to be very careful of as Democrats right now is the purity test. We want to have our candidates be, I'll tell you one of the reasons why the criticisms come. And this is not talked a lot about, and I don't see it on any of the corporate media. I've said it on my show. But the one thing that I think is very clear is that it's an old phrase or statement my mother made years ago. She used to say, "Don't give your opponent a stick to hit you with." And so the Republicans are going to hit hard with Graham Plattner. They're going to hit hard. And what I want us to be able to do is to be there to stand up to support him. Us here in Illinois, and us out in California, and us in New Mexico, and us in any other place in the country where you recognize the importance of getting rid of Susan Collins because of what the destruction that she's allowed to happen, whether it be Brett Kavanaugh, whether it be Donald Trump, whether it be the rest of the GOP. She has to go. Her inability to represent the people in a way that is right for the majority of people in that state is unacceptable. It has been for a long time. And I've heard rumblings that some of the Democrats are saying we need to fight fire with fire if the Republicans come after Plattner on these issues of these texts and all, that maybe the Democrats should go ahead and open up the can of, whoop behind on Susan Collins when it comes to some of her misdeeds. But I think sticking to the political is probably the way to go and not get into the culture war and the social issue war. Let's stick to the things that matter to the voters there in Maine. We can't, most of us can't vote for there, but what we can do is get behind the candidates that we feel that the state the voters in that state have said, this is our person. Now, I want to not pivot, but I want to shine a light on something that I believe is going to happen, and it's going to put the Republicans on their heels to some extent. And this is why we as Democrats have to be prepared to continue to keep them on their heels. What am I talking about? This race is going to be expensive to the Republicans. It's going to be expensive to the Democrats too, but it's going to be particularly expensive to the Republicans because of what they're going to have to do to protect that seat, protect Susan Feckless Collins from losing that seat. So what we've got to be willing to look at is the more pressure we put on these important and tight races that could change the makeup of the U.S. Senate, the better. Where am I going with this? Tallarico's race in Texas. That's going to be expensive too. And they've already spent money. They're going to spend a lot more because they've got a truly flawed candidate there. You saw that his former defense attorney came out and endorsed James Tallarico. And some people say that's not going to move the needle. But whether it's going to move the needle or not, it's an opportunity for Democrats to, from a messaging standpoint, to talk about how Paxton is not a good person for the state of Texas. Be damned the conservative, et cetera, et cetera. I look at it like this in terms of Texas voters, and this may pinch a few people in the backside. There's a lot of hypocrisy that goes on with the Texas voters saying that they're conservative, Lady B. And then I see them allow a guy to be indicted and brought up on these charges and so forth and so on. And they voted for a person in the White House that has these sexual misdoings and all these things that are, quote, not in the cultural lineup of being a conservative, being a good person, following the letter of the spiritual law. Donald Trump hasn't represented that. But Texas voters have said, we're going to vote for him because he's our, but it's hypocrisy. And the same thing is starting to line up when I've listened to interviews of people in Texas about Paxton. Same thing. They're going to excuse and look past the behaviors so that they can get their person to play partisan politics. So in this moment, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. We need to come heavy with these two races. They're going to be expensive for the Republicans, for us and the Republicans. But I think the more we get behind the candidates that have now been decided on, the better that we are going to perform. And man, oh man, let's be optimistic about this. Let's be optimistic that we could win both of these seats. Why not? Why go into it with our heads down? And now that the die has been cast, now that we know what we're up against, and this path has been charted, let's go hard. Let's go big. Let's go hard. Let's make them pay for all of the things that John Cornyn, isn't that crazy? 90+% of the time he voted with Donald Trump. But the minute he decides to step in a different light, the thumb's on the scale for somebody else. That should tell the Republican voters something. There's no loyalty in your party. There's no loyalty. We've got 3 people recently that have lost their congressional seat, House or Senate, that in their primary, because they spoke out about Donald Trump and the Epstein files. He put his thumb on the scale, and guess what? Those people lost their seats. That tells you a couple of things. One for sure, Lady B, that the Epstein files are a neutron bomb for Donald Trump. And we'll put an example. Thomas Massey. I just drew a blank on the senator that lost his bid, but it'll come to me in a second. Cornyn is a second one. And just overnight with this race in South Carolina for governor, Nancy Mace, who I have not much good to say about, she came in 5th place. What is it that's common about these 3 people? Certainly 2 of them is they've called for the Epstein files to be released in all their flavor. They voted with Trump on so many other things. Bill Cassidy, thank you. They voted with Trump on so many things, but this one was that, quote, bridge too far. And the fake conservative mindset said, oh, well, that's Donald Trump is going to go against them, so I'm going to go against that person. So we have to use that as in the conversation around loyalty. The so-called loyal Republican Party, you know, the phrase is, you know, when the leader speaks, they fall in line. Well, that's proven that it's kind of there's some BS in that statement, because they are not necessarily the folks who voted with Trump, like the Cassidys and the Masseys and even Nancy Mace and Cornyn, all got the thumb on the scale in the opposite direction, and they lost in their primary, or they lost in an election that was near and dear to them. So Democrats, we as all of us, our whole team, we've got to be willing to fight these fights. We got to go hard. We got to support Tallarico. We have to do like Jasmine Crockett did after she did not win that primary. She said, I got to get behind this guy. She didn't waste any time, Lady B. We are going to go to a quick break. The number here is 773-763-9278. I'm Richard Chu, sitting in for Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. And guess what? We'll be right back.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Now back to Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. This is Richard Chu from Chu's Views here on WCPT, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. And no, Joan did not get an adjustment to her voice. That's me sitting in for Joan. I'm glad to be here, and thanks to Lady B for keeping us on the rails. So we were just talking a little bit about the not only the race in Maine, but the race down in Texas. And, you know, we definitely have to be in a position to support these candidates now that the local voters in those respective states have said this is who we want. The rest of us throughout the other parts of the country have got to get on board to support. Winning these seats is so important, you guys. Right now, I know that the subtitle for Joan's show is Live, Local, and Progressive. I say this on my show all the time, that it's so critically important that we recognize the importance of national issues affect us more than ever on a local level. Local issues have the ability to change what happens on a national level. And the reason that we have to kind of shift how we view our politics in that regard is that one of the things that we've done, or maybe haven't done, or let slide, is that we've given up too much territory. We've given up too much political territory. We didn't tend to the garden, if you will, of local politics and state politics, and we lost some state legislatures, and they changed laws that were damaging to people, or they were in a position where the governor and or part of the state legislature, the House or the Senate, in various states throughout the country, we lost the ability to manage that and to make determinations that were positive for the citizens of that particular state. We can't do that anymore. We have to be willing to keep our eye on the ball, both locally in terms of mayoral races, which we've got coming up here in Chicago next year, as well as the state races, because they are foundational to the national conversation. And the vice versa part of that, the point I wanted to make sure I make is we've seen what local politicians in big blue cities have had to deal with because of what goes on a federal level. We've seen Los Angeles, we've seen Minneapolis, we've seen Chicago, we've seen Philadelphia, we've seen Charlotte have to deal with the problems that were brought to their cities by ICE. Those are federal officers, federal goons that came to local cities to create havoc. So we can't, and then, you know, let's get into the big ugly bill and tariffs, and let's, you know, talk about the ACA subsidies. All of those things impact people on a local level, even though they're, you know, federal in nature. So I think it's important that we as a party make sure that we are keeping our eyes on both of the balls, the local ball, if you will, and the sort of the national ball or national conversation. And that's what I try to do every day on my show, and certainly, you know, obviously sitting in for Joan today. Live, local, and progressive, and all the rest, maybe is what we could say. But the original point I want to circle back to, these elections that are taking place, these two big Senate seats in Maine and in Texas, they're an uphill climb. We're working to get those seats, meaning picking up seats versus, protecting home. But we've got some other places in the country where, in North Carolina, as an example, where we have a chance with Roy Moore to have some success there. And that's kind of what I want us to be thinking about. How can we, when you ask, what can I do? Ask yourself this question: what's going on in another state from wherever I am? You might be in Arizona and you want to know what's going on in another state where there's going to be some support needed, whether it be phone calls, whether it be emails, whether it be, in cases where you can make contributions. That's a question you want to be asking yourself so that you're in a position to go forward. The Roy Cooper race in North Carolina is very, very gettable, as are some of the other locations where we've got, an opportunity to pick up a seat, both House and Senate. So let's do that. Let's make sure that we're asking the question, what can I do to be a participant in that success? Because ultimately, if you think about it, when we're upset about what Trump's doing and his administration, his cabinet are doing, what we have to think about, or at least I believe what we have to be willing to think about, is if we change House and we change Senate, that gives us the ability to slow this train down. Because you guys may have heard just earlier today that he's going to be signing the bill, Lady B, for this additional $70 billion to go to ICE. And as I read it, I had to read it quickly before getting back to the studio. This is money that's going to be available through the rest of his term. So that's the concern. That's one of the concerns as to why we have to make sure we get the House back and potentially the Senate, because it will at least allow us to slow that train down. I'm not going to be able to stop that one because based on how it's being based on the way in which it was written in terms of the bill and now being signed into law, it will give him some unfettered access and usability of those funds. But taking things back, man, that's going to be a powerful position for us to be in. Locally, we got some things happening. You guys know that this is the time of year that Chicago and so many other upper Midwest cities have all their different festivals and events going on. And we in Chicago definitely hold a big torch in that space. So there's a lot that's happening in Chicago. And when we come back, we'll be talking with our first guest about a big thing that's going on here in Chicago. It's an international story, if you ask me. It's not just a national or local story. It's an international story. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be talking with Naomi Davis, who's part of the new Woodlawn and South Lakefront Tourism Center. That's going to be right there in the same ballpark as what? The opening of the Obama Library and Center. Number is 773-763-9278. Hit us with the text. Go to our Facebook page. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT Willow Springs, is powered by ComEd. Find rebates and discounts on energy-efficient products at ComEd.com/home savings.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Richard Chews, sitting in for Joan Esposito, and of course, you guys know my show. It's Chews Views every weekday morning, Monday through Friday, from 6 to 8 a.m. here on WCPT. And I always say this, but make your way over to Heartland Signal, guys. I'm telling you, there's a lot of great stuff that's there. Our digital newsroom just gets it done. And they make it so that you can like and share, Lady B, with people that are in your world that say things like, I don't know what to talk about. I don't know who to talk to about these things. I'm looking for more information. Well, that's what our digital newsroom does. They make it so that you've got things to share. In Chicago, we've got so much happening this summer with all of our festivals and different events that are taking place. And one of the big events that everybody's been talking about is the opening of the Barack Obama Presidential Center, which is opening next weekend on the 19th, which is Juneteenth, by the way. One of the organizations, and Chicago is just known for having good social organizations to make sure that the people here have a partner. And that's what I like to look at our social organizations here in Chicago as partners for the community. We've got great political leaders. We've got people who do on the local county and state level that do wonderful stuff from the elected standpoint. But what about the folks like Naomi Davis, who makes sure that some of our organizations, our neighborhood organizations, do great things as well? And with us this afternoon is Naomi Davis, and I want to welcome you to the show. I'm Richard Chu, sitting in for Joan Esposito. So there you go. Welcome. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Oh, man, it's a joy. It's a pleasure. And salute to you for all of your good work. And to everybody out there, greetings, cousins.
That's right. We are a big family here in Chicago. We've got all of our crazy, diverse neighborhoods and all those things. But at the end of the day, Chicago is a city that steps up when we need to step up and support each other. And that's the one thing that I love about our city and all of its imperfections and all those things. We do this very, very well. We step up for each other. And I want you to tell us what you guys are doing and why it's going to be so impactful, not just this next week, but in the future. Talk a little bit about your integration and work with what's happening with the grand opening of the Obama Presidential Center and all the things that you guys are going to be bringing forward with Blacks in Green.
Well, we are honored to be longtime friends of the Obama Presidential Center. And the idea that in 2014, they declared they were coming. And all of the years up through then, among other things, Blacks in Green has been focused with our tiny little community-based organization, making a really big story about the Great Migration, the legacy neighborhood here in West Woodlawn, where we live, work, play, invest, all that good stuff. The idea that there is an American story here that is exemplified through the architecture, through the architects, the horticulturalists, the fine artists, what we call now the ancestors. But at the same time, we're celebrating the living luminaries. So Blacks in Green has, we're the authors of the 8 Principles of Green Village Building, which when implemented produced the Sustainable Square Mile. So we're all about creating economies, and we're creating economies in energy, horticulture, housing, tourism, and waste. And tourism, why tourism? Because, you know, the idea that we are wanting and receiving support in self-love. Mm-hmm. We've got great stories to tell. The Great Migration exemplifies our courage, our creativity, our genius, our industry, and our love. And it's one of the things that as we settled here on the South Lakefront, which we lovingly call the Obama Presidential District, we landed here and we made it great. And the idea that our 44th president and his beloved bride have very strong South Side roots. Yep. And of course, those of you who visit the museum will see that. We are lifting those stories up. We have, for example, a series of wine and cheese receptions every night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of Juneteenth week, celebrating art, architecture and real estate development, gardens and the environment, performance and the arts, but also the Great Migration story and the Obama journey. So we are on the historic South Lakefront, where in all the world, who knows how many Black occupied freshwater settling communities there are. We're championing 10 neighborhoods on the South Lakefront. Wow. We're reinventing ourselves as the Woodlawn and South Lakefront Tourism Center. And we're telling the story from Bronzeville to Riverdale of the way the Comers created parks, institutions, the idea that they created economies, and again, just really landed and made those communities great. So our center is launching, see you on the Midway if you're going to be there on the 18th. We're going to be in a booth on the Midway Pleasance. right outside for the Obama Presidential Center celebratory opening. We're going to be talking about the three tours that we're doing. So we have a bike tour, we have a bus tour, we have a walking tour, and it's really, again, centralizing our story through our bike tour is about freedom and sustainability. We say all roads lead to Till.
Yep.
That's a t-shirt. You can't see it, but it's there. All roads lead to Till. and literally and figuratively, we've made the Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley House Museum, which we're proud to be the owners and cultivators of. We've made it the archetypical heart center of our walkable village, our sustainable square mile, West Woodlawn. That's from King to Cottage, 60th to South Chicago. And so that home and the Till family and their story will be part of the cocktail, the wine and cheese reception that we're doing on Friday, actually on Juneteenth. I could go on and on.
No. I didn't want to interrupt you because I knew you wanted to complete your thought there. Yes, the freedom and sustainability all roads lead to Till bike tour is going to take its way through the Midway, as you said, Washington Park, West Woodlawn, Botanic Garden, the Village Farm, the Arboretum. There's so many great things that are. A lot of people don't know. I mean, when you visit Chicago, so for those out there who are visiting Chicago this summer, obviously one of the big highlights is going to be next week, next Friday and weekend with regard to the center being open. But in a broader sense, Chicago's community art displays is probably the word I would use, and art gardens are superb. And one of the things that has made that happen, in my observation and experience, are folks like you, Naomi, who've really focused in on the stories that are historical, excuse me, about the African American community in Chicago and its impact in the region. And we know that history is there, but the fact that we've got so many good leaders like yourself that are making sure that it's highlighted is really important. Irrespective, no disrespect to the Obama Center being open, these are things that are gonna be there for a long time to come. So that's exciting to see that you're leaning into this. Talk a little bit about the wellness and culinary tour. I mean, I'm certain that a lot of people are curious about that, particularly given the fact that Chicago is known for its food, and particularly food that found its origin on the south side of Chicago. Talk about that a little bit.
True that, and even farther south than the south side, are all our Mississippi, Georgia, Louisiana, Alabama folks who migrated up here with their suitcases full of heirloom seeds, full of the family cookbooks and Bibles, the way that they brought their traditions with them, took root literally and figuratively in these communities. And so we're saying, look, yeah, we're going to have it fried and smothered, and you're going to be able to enjoy it like, Granny did. But we're also bringing a dimension of wellness. And how do you stock that wellness kitchen? How do you build for nutrition? How do you grow? They call it farm to table. Well, a farm could be a box of herbs on your windowsill. Mm-hmm. We're teaching people to return to those great, smart, healthy traditions of growing your own food. And as part of our West Woodlawn Botanic Garden, Village Farm, and Arboretum, we're looking at food not only as nutrition, but as an emergency management system. Mm-hmm. We're saying we're looking at it as a workforce developer. How many households can you feed? How many neighbors can you train and engage? How many jobs and businesses can you create? How many gallons of stormwater can you divert? We're looking at the conservation lifestyle and reintroducing some of us are of a certain age where we grew up in a neighborhood where you could walk to work, walk to shop, walk to learn, walk to play, where neighbors owned the businesses, they owned the land, and they lived that heritage lifestyle. Well, in my lifetime, I've seen those neighborhoods go extinct. And so what Blacks in Green is committed to with our sustainable square mile work is lifting that up. It was humble, it was wise, it was soft spoken, but it was profound, those lifestyles. And we could do worse than to reinvent those practices here in the age of climate crisis. Because y'all remember when the shelves at the grocery store get crazy, people get crazy too.
Yeah, that's not a doubt.
And yet, the things that our forefathers and mothers taught us about self-sufficiency are right there. So on the culinary tour, we're going to have 3 stops where we'll have special meetings with the restaurant owners, special bite sampler, and each person registering for the tour is going to get a digital copy of our Black what are we calling it? Guide to Black Chicago Eats.
Got it.
All right. So it will be a digital. So we're only making 3 stops. We're going to tell a lot of heritage stories in between, and then we're going to give you this free gift to say, look, take your movable feast on the road and go and visit these other fine eateries too. So that's the culinary tour. Wellness, how do you incorporate that in your life without giving up your fried and your smothered?
Too funny. We're going to take a tiny little break here, Naomi. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about the sustainability, but I also want to talk about some environmental impacts of this in terms of sustainability. Let's take a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. You can hit us with a quick text message or go to our Facebook page. I'm Richard Chu, sitting in for Joan Esposito, and we will be right back.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Now back to Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Yeah, guys, that's who we are, WCPT 820. I'm Richard Chu, sitting in for Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. And this afternoon, we are talking with one of Chicago's great leaders when it comes to social engagement and neighborhood support. Naomi Davis is chatting with us. She's part of the Blacks in Green organization, a national network born to close America's racial wealth gap via the new green economy. So sustainability is something that all of us benefit from. And one of the things that's clearly happened in neighborhoods, Black communities, and other communities of color, as well as rural white communities, is the destruction of the environment, and let's just call it as it is, Naomi, by big businesses and other entities due to dumping and pulling resources from the community to build their businesses, but not really returning the value back to the communities that they've taken from. Talk a little bit about that for you in terms of the sustainable square mile part of this project and part of the work that you're doing.
Our vision, when we were born back in 2007, was self-sustaining Black communities everywhere. Self-sustaining. Again, going back to the lessons of our ancestors for how you keep self, not as an island, a series of interrelationships, just like they say in biomimicry, you're recreating the practices of nature inside the human experience. And so we love this vision. We love the fantasy. We engorge ourselves on the idea of what if Black communities were known for beauty, prosperity, comfort, and joy.
Yeah, without a doubt.
What about that America? And so we're about the business of creating walk to work, walk to shop, walk to learn, walk to play villages where neighbors own the businesses, they own the land, and they remember their heritage roots. And so the idea that the climate crisis is accelerating, just like they said it would, almost 20 years ago when we launched our humble enterprise. The idea that greenhouse gas parts per million are shooting way up to, I don't know where they are right now, probably 420 or in that neighborhood. And long ago, Bill McKibben declared that 400 parts per million would be our tipping point. When we were launched in 2007, we were at 370 parts per million.
Wow.
And for thousands of years before that, we were at 350 parts per million. The idea is that people know the climate is changing. We had a tornado here, tore the sign down off the front of our building. And the idea that we have more days above 90 degrees, we have energy poverty in our neighborhoods, which means that we're not going to be able to afford that air conditioning, or that we're more likely to have a shutoff of our heat in the winter. All of these systemic conditions are driving our really being alert to organize as communities, organize as emergency management systems, because you can't be a system as a party of one. You've got to organize with your neighbors. And so part of what we do at Blacks and Green, we've planted over 500 trees in our walkable village. We know that there's just at least 12 really deeply documented values of trees, from the cooling effect that they have, as well as the mental serenity effect that they have. But we also have we have created 9 gardens. We've invested our little hard-earned dollars in creating public spaces. Why? Because you want to be able to get out in Mother Nature and breathe and rest and reflect. And one of the gardens is the Mamie Till Mobley Forgiveness Garden on the corner of 64th and St. Lawrence. You can look up all these gardens on our website, blacksandgreen.org, www.blacksandgreen.org. The idea that we are investing in a way of life that is beautiful, that is comfortable, and we're just on the verge of creating a reforestation initiative that will hire young people out of high school to be arborists. Do you understand? Trees, they must be pruned, they must be watered, and that you can make a really strong living right out of high school doing that kind of work. So we want to build that horticultural economy right here where we live. And so when we do our tours, we will be on our walking tour, on our sustainability we call it the Great Migration Legacy Walking Tour, where the Sustainable Square Mile rises. People could say, well, where is that walk-to-work village that you're talking about? I don't see no walk-to-work village. Well, a few $1 billion down the road, and I mean several billions, is what's required to really restore the deconstruction of our neighborhoods. And it's okay. Some of us are in it for the long haul, and we're not going to ever quit until our vision manifests. But in the meantime, we can do some things. We've been very heartened by the recruitment of, we have 50 volunteers that we train and manage to work with us in the various aspects of our 8 principles of green village building. And you're going to see them when you come to the Woodlawn and South Lakefront Tourism Center, which is its own destination, y'all. We're going to have sip and savor coffee. We're going to have a books reading area. Come and read books about Black Chicago. We have office business, and we have a business hub upstairs where you can rent offices. Beautiful. They're just gorgeous. Everything is appointed with the respect and the love of our people in mind. We haven't, we've invested carefully, and we have a guest house where you can come. Look, $300 a night, sleep 6.
Wow.
Do the math. Okay. And we have a garden out back. So you come, you eat, you listen to music. you work on your computer, you go in the garden, take your shoes off, and make the tourism center a place for the neighbors as well as those visiting globally.
You know what's interesting about this, and
South Grove, 6431 South Cottage Grove.
64th and Cottage Grove. Just for those who may be geographically deficient, I say that with all due respect. So Naomi, one of the things that I want to say, and we're going to wrap up here as we get to the top of the hour. When you were talking about the recruiting of young talent coming out of school, I think about how important it is for our political leaders as well as our social leaders and all the rest of us to make sure that we're creating space for youth to have things to do that, yes, are going to provide them with the experiential value, but also put money in their pocket. Because if there's money going in their pocket and they're learning something and they're in a community of others, their schoolmates or whomever it might be, that's good for all of our community. That's an environmental saver right there.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
It's great to hear that you are leaning into that as part of the process, because I know that one of the best things that ever happened to me as a kid is cutting lawns and doing yard work and being out and about. And I tended a 10-row garden growing up because it taught me so much about nature, but it also taught me responsibility and all those other things. But it was kind of cool getting your own fresh food and fresh fruit and vegetables. So it's great that you've incorporated this into your DNA and into your mission. As we wrap up, let folks know one more time how they can find the organization and how they can be a part of what's going to happen at the end of next week and weekend.
Okay, so you can buy your tickets to any of those 3 tours on our website, Blacks in Green. That's Blacks, the color, plural, I-N, in green, the color.org. And so you can buy tickets online. You can shop. You can come here and shop our emporium. We've got our gear, T-shirts. We've got leather journals. We've got hats, keychains. We have a really a special limited edition coin that we're creating. And we're having he's famous to some people, and he's in my heart. Artist, New Orleans artist Jean-Marcel Saint-Jacques, the maker of the wooden quilt. He's donated a quilt to the Till Museum, and he is creating 14 pieces that he specially commissioned for us to auction. Wow. So look for our hard launch on August 27th, our lakefront cruise and auction. Come here on which night is Marcel here? He's here Friday night with members of the Till family and Ellen Grimes, our curator and project director for the museum, and see his work. Yeah. His work is created from the found wood from houses destroyed by storm.
Wow, what a project.
Are all made from Till House scrap wood. They're gorgeous. So come, you can find us on Eventbrite, and you can come and visit anytime. You can visit us online, and you can come volunteer. And of course, we want to thank Bikes in the Hood, because without Bikes in the Hood, we wouldn't have no bikes for you to be riding. And they are retooled, and they got all the gear. It's going to be really safe. It's going to be really fun. You got to come out and join the family.
Naomi Davis, Blacks in Green, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. And we look forward to tremendous success, not just this weekend, but in the weekends and months to come. Thanks for being with us this afternoon.
Bless you. Thank you.
All right. We're going to take a quick break, guys. The number, of course, is 773-763-9278. Hit us with a text. I know you guys, a number of you had comments about the work that Naomi and her team are doing. Go to our Facebook page, but right now we're going to take a quick break. I'm Richard Chu, sitting in for Joan Esposito, and when we come back, You guys got to get ready because we're going to be laughing for a while. We'll be back with Frangela, the comedy duo so well known throughout the country. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Remember when you get to work to hop over to WCPT820.com or the TuneIn Radio app and stream The Stephanie Miller Show. Weekdays 8 to 11 a.m. on Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
It's time for Joan Esposito. Live, local, and progressive.
Joan, as always, exceptional work from you from, your TV days all the way up to the day. You're truly exceptional, and thanks for this great show you have.
It's time for Joan Esposito on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Well, I'm Joan's alter ego. So, of course, I'm Richard Chu, host of Chu's Views, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. here on WCPT, AM 820, WARR down in Warren County, North Carolina, and AM 950 up in Minnesota. So it's a blessing to be able to have our broadcast expanding. But I'm sitting in for Joan today, and I have this big smile on my face. I can't keep my mouth closed because I'm smiling so much because I'm talking to two of the coolest ladies. Both are from the Midwest, one from Chicago, one from Detroit, which I'm going to be in Detroit next Monday doing an event with the tax forum people. But who am I talking about? Well, you guys have seen and heard this wonderful group of ladies, two of them. The duo of Frangela is with us this afternoon. Welcome back to WCPT. And of course, it's me, but I'm sitting in for Joan today. How you doing, ladies?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm thrilled to have you guys on. I know we were going to probably do a segment for my show, but when it turned out that I was going to be sitting in for Joan, I thought, oh, this is perfect because y'all didn't have to get up at the crack of crazy dawn.
Because we're on the left coast.
You're on the left coast, but it's my favorite coast. I ain't gonna lie. You know how I roll. I love the West Coast, and that's home for second home for me because of all my whatever's in the past. But here we are, afternoon, and by the way, I think it's hotter in Chicago today than it is in Los Angeles. What y'all running with right now, temperature wise?
Yeah. I think it's in the 80s, low 80s.
Come on.
Maybe?
We got y'all beat by 10 degrees. It's 92 degrees in Chicago.
I know it's going to get to there. Oh, yeah. No, Chicago gets hot.
Yes, it
People
does.
don't recognize that Chicago has those two extremes. That is the coldest place I've ever lived and also the hottest.
Yes.
That's right. We're 84 right now in Hollywood.
Yeah. Well, we are. We. It's that crazy thing, and you know this. Both of you know this, but particularly with your time with Second City, that Chicago, we get through the winter, and then we have a milquetoast spring. We keep begging for the weather to stay in the 60s in April, right? Yes. And it dips into the 50s, and then, it'll get down to the 40s overnight. And then we'll get through May, and we just, fingers crossed. Okay, come on. And then Memorial Day hits, right?
And it explodes.
Y'all know what I'm talking about. And it's like somebody walked over and turned the switch on, and now it's in the 90s. Yep. A week and a half ago, we were happy that it was 70 degrees, but here we are. It's 90 degrees in Chicago today. So,
but that city loves good weather. Like you see everybody out on the lake, on the beach, riding their bikes, walking around. Like it's such a great city when it warm. It's always a great city, but like the spring sort of summer is. I've never lived a more fun place.
It's a certain vibe. You're right about that. There's a certain, and I've been in all of our big cities in the country. I've been blessed to actually spend at least 3 days in all 50 states in the nation. I'm one of the few nerds that's done that. But I can tell you that there's a certain thing about Chicago when we sort of hit our weather stride. And people laugh sometimes. Why do y'all talk about the weather so much? Because it is part of the culture here, I think. I mean, what do you guys think? When you've lived here and when you've visited here, the weather really is a part of Chicago's culture.
Let me tell you something. You don't have to talk about the weather unless you walk down the street and have that hawk bite you. Okay? If you ain't had the hawk get you, you don't know Chicago. And then once that hawk bites you, then you understand and you know, you're like, oh, this is why people celebrate warm weather. This is why people are so excited, because they are getting bit on those east to west streets, okay?
That's right.
Let me tell you, too, that is the only place I've ever lived where the city government, I forget who was the mayor. It was one of the family, you know.
The Daily. Yeah.
And the Dailies or something. And they were like, basically the government said, if you move somebody's lawn chair out of the parking space that they have cleared, that is a crime.
Dibs.
And that they have every right to beat you senseless.
Yeah.
Because that is not how we do in Chicago. And I was like, see, that's how serious people are.
If you take the time, the mindset is, if someone put the time in, and Francis, you know this specifically, somebody put the time in to run outside, get dressed up real warm, right? Get everything on, couple of layers, got the boots, tightened up and everything, and gonna go out there on a day where the sun is out, beautiful clear sky, but it's 2 degrees, with the shovel and a broom, and clear off a spot. After 2 days ago, it was 30, but we got 12 inches of snow. Yeah. And they're going to clear all that off. Nice little spot for them to park their car. They got one in the garage, you get, 2-car family, one in the garage and one on the street. And you have the nerve to move that picnic chair. Richard. And here's the thing, Francis, they came by your house for a summer event, and they sat in that chair.
They sat in that
and chair. now they're going to come by and move it.
Right. They had the audacity to eat your hamburgers.
Right.
Yeah.
And
eat your broth.
And move the chair that you put out in front of your house that you shovel.
That is an effrontery to all decency.
Since we're here, let's talk about the blizzard of 78.
Oh, yes. No. No
school.
I cannot with the blizzard of 78.
It's 79. Legendary,
79,
Angela.
78.
79, yeah.
77.
It had political implications.
For 3 years.
Let me tell you what happened. My father, who was not this kind of person, right? All the men on my street, because you could not get down our street. No car could get down our street because the ice was so thick. So they went and picked males from every household and said, look, somebody from this house has to come out and pickaxe the street clear. When we get to a car and we need some place to put these blocks of ice, if you are not out here and claim that car, ice is going on it.
That's right.
Okay? Do you know that you didn't see people's cars till like April? Yeah. Okay? I was walking down the street for months and I couldn't tell whose car that was.
Just igloos.
What street am I on? Whose car is that with the ice blocks on it?
I'm telling you, no,
they weren't out that night. I can tell you that.
Is real.
Yeah,
they weren't out there.
Yeah,
Chicago is the stories that are tied to our weather. I don't think that there's another big city that has the stories that we have when it comes to weather. The other side of that, of course, is what we're experiencing now. And I'm not going to complain about it because I absolutely love when it gets warm here. I'm an outdoors person. I can do the outdoor in the middle of winter, spring, summer, or fall. But like you said, there is something unique about when Chicago hits its stride and folks are out and about and doing things. I was talking earlier about all the festivals that are going on. And did you guys know that the last 8 years, Condé Nast has voted Chicago as its favorite big city for people that are traveling because of a couple of things that you guys have experienced in your time here are the parks that we have. Yeah. Obviously, the lakefront, that's a given, but the parks and just the maneuverability around the city. And that's something that, everybody gets to take a part in. I heard a couple of guys that were visiting from London recently, and they were talking about how they didn't realize how easy it is to navigate in the city of Chicago. Yeah. We love our city, but we love when we get the chance to talk to folks that have really spent some time here and know how Chicago rolls. You guys have had some interesting things happen in Los Angeles of late in terms of pivoting to talk about politics. I have to ask this question because I'm nosy. And I know you guys have a take on this, but I say we because when I look at where we are right now as a country, I think that one of our best tools is to reference the we and the us in the conversation. Not y'all out in California, you got to deal with this. We here in Chicago, Illinois, we in Philly, we in DC and the rest have got to look at our brethren in other parts of the country and say, what can we do to help them move the needle when they're dealing with certain issues? ICE, when you all were dealing with that last year. But this election for mayor, I mean, I love Los Angeles, and I will tell you, I'm vested in what happens there, probably more than most, but that don't live there. But I'm very happy that, you know, you got it right, at least at this point. Talk a little bit about this mayoral race.
Let me tell you something. We know Spencer Pratt. He's a horrible, horrible human being. When I tell you he is, I think, decidedly the least intelligent human I've ever seen, you know, up close.
Right.
And on top of which, he's just a horrible person who, in fact, hit me once.
And he's still alive?
We were on camera.
And they had to hold the little small gremlin back.
They had to hold Francis back, the little jungle ninjas. We were on this reality show with him where we were in the jungle, and he's a horror show. They both are. She doesn't even look real now. Have you seen it? I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, they're horrible. And the fact that campaign was allowed to get to that level, because it really did show for me the class divide of that city.
Yes.
You know, because where he got votes is about wealthy people, particularly wealthy white people. In Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And his sort of their call to arms was really about the fires and the response to the fires.
Which can I just throw this on top of that fire thing, Angela, which is you're going to sit here and talk about being unhomed while criticizing and the unhomed population. I don't understand how we hold both of these things.
But also,
that's what privilege
didn't have insurance. He did not have home insurance. That is why his house burnt. He couldn't rebuild it because he chose not to have that. And then on top of that, he isn't unhomed. He was living at the Beverly Hills, whatever,
the Bel Air,
the Bel Air hotel. Like he's fine. Or his parents' house, but that somehow he was able to get anybody to believe that he cares about anything other than himself is amazing to me.
And so, go ahead, Francis. Sorry.
Well, the fact that it felt like we were having an out-of-body experience because we did spend weeks with them and him in the Costa Rican jungle.
Right.
Okay. And
that's how you get to know people.
Right. It's to be on a reality TV show with them.
Okay.
And so what I had forgotten, while everybody's talking back and forth and going back and forth, we're going, oh, no, not Pratt, no Pratt. I'd forgotten on that show that it took more than 4 psychologists to give him a pass to say that he was sane enough to be around I'm not kidding, Richard.
To be on the show.
Wow.
To be on the show.
Because you have to meet with a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and they have to greenlight you to say this person is safe to have out, in this situation.
They can play in the sandbox.
And they went through over 4, if I remember correctly, over 4.
Over 4. And
find one who would say he could go.
Wait, so they went through 3 that didn't say yes.
Who said no.
Who said no. And the 4th one acquiesced and said, yeah, I guess I probably should go ahead and cash this check because they need to get him on the show. Wow.
You've never seen adults be quieter. When I tell you that every time they were asleep, Spencer and what's her name? Heidi. Whenever they were asleep, everybody would tiptoe around camp because it was the only peace you got.
Wow.
It was like having newborns. You're like, shh, don't.
When they were kicked off the show or kicked off the island,
they quit. Remember, they kept quitting.
Right.
They quit 5 times.
When that happened, the people that were not a part of the show, didn't know them, who were running the bed and breakfast were down in Costa Rica. They literally, when I showed up like a week later, they said, those were the strangest people. They were South Africans. They go, those were the strangest people we've ever met. They kept talking as if there were cameras on them.
Oh, wow.
They were like,
they think there are cameras on them all the time.
all the time. They were like,
They were in performative mode all the time.
Yes.
The entire
time.
Wow.
There is nothing real or sincere about either of these human beings.
That's crazy, y'all.
And so to see him up to be the mayor,
I was like, what is going on?
of
Especially
this city?
post-Trump. Oh, I got an idea. Let's try another dumb reality star. Really?
You know, I said this morning on my show opening up. I said one of the things that actually a friend of mine sent me an email yesterday. He said, Richard, we have to remember right now, because this is I'm talking about this UFC event, talking about reality stuff. And he said, Richard, you have to remember that's what has happened to our country is that we've lost our dignity. And we've lost a sense of, I'm not a decorum person, but listen, the three of us were raised a certain way, excuse me, that you just act right. You know when to act right. And if you don't act right, there's a price to pay for it. And some people, might say that's a black thing. Okay, in many ways it is, because we know we were raised to know how to act a certain way. And when we're in certain environments, particularly, so we know we need to act a certain way, because there was a time when that could cost you your life if you didn't act with a certain amount of respect and decorum and dignity. And to see now that this White House and all of its minion are acting in a way that is showing the world how undignified, how without grace. And to some extent, Mayor Johnson here in Chicago talks about the importance of us recapturing our humanity. And without humanity, it shows the stain that this administration, Donald Trump specifically, and all of his minion and sycophants have led us to. We've lost these things, humanity, dignity, and a certain amount of respect for one another. So
yes. And shame.
And shame.
I miss shame because they have none.
None, without a doubt. We're going to take a little bit of a break. The number is 773-763-9278. I'm Richard Chu, sitting in for Joan Esposito. You can catch my show Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. But with us right now is our guest from the West Coast, Frangela, who didn't have to get up at 0:30 this morning to hang out with us. We're going to take a quick break, guys, and we'll be right back.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Now back to Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Richard Chu, sitting in for Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, and I'm the host of Chu's Views Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. Our guest, as I said before we went to the break, did not have to get up at 0:30 to hang out with us today, but I'm so honored and happy to have him. I've had this big smile on my face because I love these two ladies, but more importantly, I have a tremendous amount of respect for their ability to navigate comedy, social conversations, political conversations, all in the process of doing the work that they do to keep so many people informed across the country. So thank you for that. It's unique. It's not easy to do, but you guys nail it all the time. So I appreciate you hanging out with me this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
kind.
Second City made us who we are. You got to give it up to the Chicago. Chicago is the comedy town.
I've said this so many times. If you can make it in Chicago or be in Chicago and do good things, you can take that pretty much anywhere on the planet. We were talking about the weather earlier. It'll teach you that part and how to navigate yourself in Chicago's weather, but all the other things that Chicago can teach you and provide you. I want to ask you guys, when we're talking about Los Angeles, the mayoral race and what's happening there, I really want to see where you guys are on this race for governor. Again, I take it personally. California is important to me because I've spent so much of my life there in one capacity or another. But the fact that I remember, it was probably back in March on my show, I said something to the effect of, come on, California, y'all got to get this right, because we cannot have the biggest state in the country, largest electoral numbers, all the other things, fourth largest economy, all those things that we know. Be darned any of the imperfections. We cannot have that state be in the hands of a dude that a lot of people don't know this about, Steve Hilton. He's been a citizen for 5 years? 6 years. I think that's right. It's been less than 10 years, put it that way. Now, that's not to denigrate anybody that's an immigrant to this country. Nobody don't get your undies in a bundle, y'all. But that's to say, let's be honest. This dude kind of parachutes into California, dogged the state for a long time, trash talked the state. And isn't it interesting? And I know you guys probably see this. I don't know how much you comment on it, but how many times Republicans all across the board dog the community that they're serving, the city, the county, the state, the country, they dog it. And then suddenly they want to run it. And this is what Steve Hilton has done. He dogged the state of California, and now he wants to be the governor, et cetera, et cetera. So where are you guys landing on this? Thank goodness we got a reasonable person as one of the top two.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will say, number one, we not with Hilton. To be clear.
Right. No, yes.
And no way with Hilton.
I know you haven't lost your mind.
We were terrified at the thought. I mean, I think for me, Angela, I understand Tom Steyer's background. I understand that he's, that he's a progressive, that he's worked for progressive causes, but I'm in a place where I'm just not willing to vote for any more billionaires who, their first run at office is the highest post they can think of. And on top of which they're self-funding their entire campaign. I'm just over it. And I think that I look at him and I go, okay, if you really think that the place that you can do the most good is in office, why don't you show me that you're about public service and go run for a smaller office,
right?
Not start with the 5th largest or 4th largest economy in the world. And it's very frustrating because I see him and I see like Jane Fonda support him and all of these causes he supports. But at the end of the day, I also just watched him spend $200 million on himself.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things in California that $200 million would have helped if he had that laying around.
Yeah.
So and it's not, maybe people think what you will of me, but so I'm happy that Becerra's in the race. The Swalwell thing knocked the wind out of us. Like that was so dramatic and crazy and just unexpected to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Francis, go ahead.
I think that these races are not just races about policy. They start about narratives, right? And what the part of the narratives that are running in this country, and especially here in California, is, it's just the Democrats are just in the blue areas and on, in these little tiny blue spots. Well, that's where the people are.
Yeah.
That's where the votes are. It's all just because an area, and that is this problem in this country. Just because you can see these swaths of red doesn't mean that that's a vote count.
It's not population. That's what people don't.
It's not population at all.
And this is
11 million people in Los Angeles, something like that. It's like
that's where this is when people buy into this garbage that Trump's running, trying to run game on people about the Republicans are dominating in these areas, and they show those heat maps. This is what I wish more corporate media journalists would do. The heat map is not an indication of the number of people that are there. Proportionate share shows that area has a larger percentage of land. But not people voting, registered folk and people that actually vote, red. The density, and that's why they work so hard to tear down, suburban and urban communities, because they know that that's where the math is. That's where the numbers are. That's where all the people are. Sorry, exactly. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Francis.
Don't be sorry. Thank you for adding to that, because this is an important narrative, because we are visual beings, and you show me a picture that looks like, I have
the whole
to worry.
State of Montana.
That's right.
Everybody in Montana.
State of California.
Yeah, but all 10 people in Montana really like Trump.
Angela, the zip. I was joking about this a few months ago, talking about the number of voters in different areas. The zip code that my wife and I live in has in some cases, more people than not an entire state, but an entire county in a red state. Because it's just density. And that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just the reality of where people are in proximity. And I think
that's always been the problem with the Senate. In my opinion, the structural problem with it is that it allows too much authority, too much power to states that, well, it was for slave states really, but to states that do not have the, why is this, why are 10 people determining what happens for, 200 million?
And, and let's roll with this for a second. And we'll talk about this to the extent that you guys want to, but the Maine race, for example, there are counties in northern Illinois. There's Cook, Lake, DuPage, Will, and McHenry are the big four counties in northern Illinois. And the math just doesn't work sometimes for me. Not sometimes, all the time. To your point on this, Angela, there are parts of many metropolitan areas that have more in population than the entire state of Maine. So why in the hell as a country should we be running around trying to figure out how to get Susan Collins out of office, whether it would have been Janet Mills or Graham Plattner? And she had that much influence on a woman's decision to run her body the way she wants to.
Thank you.
When that state, and this is not dragging on Maine. I love Maine. No. I've been there, and I just really enjoy Maine. It's just a cool state to be in.
I love Maine.
I love Maine. But that's a structural problem, and I don't.
Yes.
Well, I know how we fix it.
It's not democratic.
No, it's not. I know how to fix it. But to fix it, we have got to do the work to take back the areas that are disproportionately impacting us in a very negative way. So in my mind, all American states are slave states because we're still operating on this, electoral system that is a problem. All the states are slave or post-enslavement states. I don't call our ancestors slaves.
Oh, 100%. I think that one of the only positive things that I can say about Trump being in office these 2 horrible times is that it's really highlighted all the structural problems with our country and all of the problems with this Constitution that on the one hand, people tramp all over like it doesn't mean anything. On the other hand, people deify it and act like it was given down by God.
Right.
And so it's given us this opportunity to because what they think is if we get back, if we, the majority of this country, get control back over our government, that we'll just go back to the way it was. But I don't think that's true anymore. I think what we've all said is, no, wait a minute. Let's examine some things. Let's ask ourselves, wait a minute. Why is it if human beings wrote this document, human beings can change it?
Thank you. And that's
let's change it.
Let's change it.
Let's fix these problems because these are problems. And they were always meant to let a small group of wealthy people control what happened and somehow still call it democracy. So let's fix it.
I had the opportunity last Thursday to have Barbara McQuaid on my show to talk a little bit about her new book, The Fix. And she was in Chicago on Monday to do a little bit of a book signing. And I went, hung out with her for a little bit. And one of the things that she talked about that I said earlier today that's so critically important, she said that the one in her book, The Fix, it talks about the fix is in, but also the fix being solutions. And the book's a great read. I got an advanced copy and a chance to kind of get through it. But she talks about what you were just saying as it relates, Angela, to we can't do what we've done in the past when we get back the power that we need. And one of the things that she says is that we've got to really be diligent, unforgivingly diligent about making sure that these standards or these what's the word she uses? Oh, gosh darn it. The word
norms.
Norms. Thank you. No longer are. They have to be written into laws in state constitutions and in our U.S. Constitution, because part of why we are here is because the norms, the folks at Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation spent a lot of time saying, well, it's not a law. It's not in the Constitution. It's a norm. So they've used...
they don't care if it is a law.
No,
the Constitution.
They don't.
It only matters if somebody charges you.
That's right.
Right? Laws are only useful if they get enforced. And the way we enforce them is when people break them. there are consequences. So if that doesn't happen, it's all worthless.
That's right.
Well,
That's right.
and what I've been taught is that it is worthless because I'm watching the president of the United States indemnify himself and his family and his friends.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, we're going to take a little bit of a break, right, Lady B? Should we go to break? All right, cool. We're going to take a break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. Hit us with a text message or go to our Facebook page. I am in the lucky seat to be hanging out with Frangela this afternoon here on Joan Esposito Live, Local, and Progressive. I'm Richard Chu, and we'll be right back.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Now back to Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Hey guys, I'm Richard Chu sitting in for Joan Esposito, and we're hanging out with comedy duo Frangela. So check this out, ladies. One of the listeners said, oh my God, I wonder too why my home planet hasn't picked me up yet. Glad to know I'm not alone. Thank you, Frangela.
No, you should see me over here like I'm E.T. with a speaking spell and a bike and an umbrella trying to read. I'm like, please phone. I'm phoning. Please.
And I got a good phone too. I don't have a raggedy phone.
Please come get me.
Come get me. Yeah, I know it is. It's crazy. But shout out to our listener that said that. And then one of our listeners, Cindy in Michigan, says, "Hey y'all. Okay." So a couple of people I'm going to just go at, and then we're going to talk a little bit about you guys as we wrap up. Kristen Welker's getting a lot of praise for how she handled the situation, yada, yada, with Orange Menace. And I sat there and I was like, we all go what we would do if we were in a situation. It's human nature for us to do that, I believe. And I appreciate the fact that she pushed back and said, where's your evidence? Where's your evidence? Where's your evidence? There was a part of me that wanted to say, that was saying when I'm watching this, why don't you just say, you know what, I'm done. I'm done with you.
Yes.
And say, you know what, you're not answering my questions. Yeah, you're the president. I respect the office of the presidency. But right now, so I said it the other day. I said, there's two parts to this. There's self-preservation and there's self-respect. And she leaned into a little bit of self-respect. But then she fell on to self-preservation, which is the C-suite and the people in my ear are telling me not to go, deep. And that's what's needed right now. And it
was needed before.
Way before.
If they'd done it in 2015, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
That's right.
That's right.
$5
billion of average free promotion.
Thank you. It's that I cannot absolve the individual reporters because of their corporate overlords. You always have a choice.
Yes,
okay.
you do.
Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, read it.
Thank you.
You always have a choice. You may not like the options, but they are choices.
Yep.
And I have to believe, look, Frances had to tell me back when George Bush was president. We've been friends a long time. And she said to me, Angela, if we meet him, you have to respect the office.
I did.
But see, you can't ask me to respect an office you don't respect the person who's in it.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to sit here and how does me allowing you to demean me and everybody watching this?
Bingo. And I got issues with some of the. Sorry, Francis. I'm gonna say I got issues with some of the guys. This is not meant to sound sexist or guyish, but I got some issues with the males in the room when he jumps off and says something about a female reporter. I'm from Chicago. I know how I roll. I'm putting meat on your face, and so I get where you guys.
We would.
Yeah. So it's not a male thing. So that's why I want to be careful.
We're all jumping. I'm from Chicago too. I know what to do.
We jump a little too early, Francis.
We stand up for those that we care about. So
yeah, I would never on that reality show with Spencer. He started yelling at another woman there, and Francis and I both were like, no,
not today.
No,
not today, dude.
And when Trump touched her, I was like, darling. I was like, you know what?
Yes.
You know what? No.
Yeah, I wanted to hire a private jet and fly there and go like, look, man, hold up. And this is where I look at this and I think this is where people who observe this are missing the point. This dude is a wrecking ball. And this is why I've been saying so much on my show recently. If we don't, the downside of us not winning back the midterm, particularly winning back the House in the midterms, is that what people saw in that interview will be darn near 24/7. He won't care because he knows that the Republicans aren't going to do anything to stop him. And if they're still in power in the House, he's going to use the N-word, y'all. I promise you. If we don't win back the House, he will use the N-word live.
What have I said, Francis? I've said this. I was like, any day now.
It's coming.
And let me tell you something. If I were ever in front of him, and see, this is why they got rid of the black people as quickly as they could. That's why they got rid of Joy Reid. That's why they're trying to get rid of everybody. But because they know if I were asked the questions, my goal would be to get him to answer.
Yes. And put him on Front Street when he doesn't. And just keep, and say things like, you didn't answer the question. Are you stupid? Are you piggy? Because, I mean, it's fair. I think it's fair.
I mean, I do not understand. The problem is it's part of the normalizing what is not normal.
Yep.
And acting as if that you're actually having an interview with an actual elected person who has some sort of interest in telling you the truth. Stop with it. I get mad at Congress people all the time walking around with their pens and their suits talking about, we wrote a letter. I'm like, stop it.
Yeah.
Just stop.
Knock some tables over.
Everybody has relinquished their agency,
Yep.
and it gets diminished and more diminished every day it goes on. So that we are now at this point with Christian Welker going, look at that. That's amazing. That's amazing.
That's her job.
She would have been called out years ago for that, right? But now that's incredible. And that's how far you have to realize how far we've been pushed back. You've been pushed back, and a line has been created and drawn, and now that is the norm.
Yep.
And understand that the only reason I think she pushed back was because he insulted her personally.
Right.
It's because he said, you're corrupt. Or I forget the word he used, but it was like corrupt.
Yeah, or he said, you're either corrupt or stupid.
And she said, I am not corrupt. And I was like, oh, have we decided to show up?
Yeah, there would have been an expletive that begins with mother and something else that preceded I'm not stupid or I'm not corrupt. But there we go.
Stop acting like this is normal.
I know. This is why I love having opportunity to hang with you guys. I'm gonna throw one more person at you I just can't wait to see your reaction, and then we're gonna wrap up. Stephen A. Smith. Is upset.
I can't believe
he's upset. He's upset because of what Trump did by going to the Knicks game, and now he's out there profiling about the people in the neighborhood lost everything, and I know you all are like, this so and so needs to go sit down, right? Look at you, Francis.
Showing up late without bringing a plate, like
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is what we get you.
This is the thing.
This here.
Yeah. I know.
And you know what? And I love you, my New York Knicks lovers. I love you. I want you to win.
I'm so sorry he lost that game for you.
I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Okay.
That's Trump's loss.
Yep. And he fell asleep.
How you gonna come and fall asleep? How you gonna come and fall asleep?
To an NBA basketball game and fall asleep.
Not let people come to it. Destroy everybody else's experience and fall asleep and leave early.
Early. Yeah, like you got something to do that you should have been doing before you decided to go to the game in the first doggone place. You should have been helping the people.
Should have been in the bed.
I'm trying to understand. Aren't we in a war? Like, I'm trying to
Yeah, I mean, we're at war right now, and you got your goofy behind at the Knicks game, and then you fall asleep. I mean, oh, Lord. See, this is...
I can't. Y'all expect us to act right, too. To put on clothing and just act right. And I don't know why
and not see Francis running down the middle of the street, but naked.
Screaming.
Screaming.
That's right. She's going to get out of my... She's slippery. She's going to get away from me one day, and I'm not going to be able to stop her.
I am going to do everything I can, and y'all need to figure out how to get me on stage in your show this October, a Sexy Liberal Tour. I will be there. If you tell the folks that are part of this, you got to have Richard Chew up on stage. He's one of us. He's part of the team. But October 24th, is it Friday or Saturday, October 24th? Is that the date? Yes. Something like that? So. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, October 24th.
They have to tell us last because we tend to
We have loose lips.
Yeah, I know how it is, but it's always good stuff that comes out.
I
of
always
those.
tell it's me. I'm the problem.
Well, hey, that's why you have a partner. The wonderful 20-year friendship with Francis. Guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. It is always fun. I feel like I'm talking to two of my sisters, literally, and it's just a joy. So thanks for all that you do. Keep on keeping on, and the hard work that you put out there for everybody that gets to listen. We got to take this break. Be safe, and we'll talk soon. Sound good?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Love you
Thank
both.
you for having us.
Be well.
Love you back.
All right. Bye-bye. Let's take a quick break, Lady B. 773-763-9278 is the number. You are listening to Richard Chu hosting, sitting in for Joan Esposito. We'll be right back.
The Thom Hartmann radio program provides all of the intelligence, information, and insight you'll need to win the water cooler wars. Weekdays 11 to 2 right here on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter. Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive.
Quite frankly, I get most of my news from you.
Joan Esposito.
Y'all ready for this?
On WCPT 820.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Richard Chu, sitting in for Joan Esposito here on Live, Local, and Progressive. As you guys know, you can catch my show Monday through Friday, Chu's Views, from 6 to 8 a.m. here on WCPT, WARR 1520 a.m. and 103.5 FM in Warren County, North Carolina, and AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Folks that serve, we all serve in some capacity if we're true to what we believe in terms of our country and our democracy. But our next two guests, they've done it the real deal way. Retired Army General, Major General Randy Mann has been with us before on WCPT and our various shows, been with me on Chu's Views, former acting vice chair of the National Guard Bureau. And I dare say, General Mann might want to punch somebody in the nose right now for his mishandling of things like D-Day and mishandling of things like just our military in general. Now, those are my words. General Manner is a mild-mannered man, and I know he's not looking to punch anybody in the nose. But welcome to the show, General Randy Manner.
Well, thank you for having me, as always. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, so many of us have sat back and watched how our government is being shredded. But specifically for you, watching our military being, frankly, used and abused in the manner in which Pete Hegseth has been, I know that's been beyond troubling for you. So how do you navigate that, General Manner? How do you navigate seeing this happen and knowing that there are men and women who are serving active duty that are having to, for lack of better words, bury their ego or bury their feelings about how this is being run?
Okay, so first thing, I'm not burying my feelings about how this is being run whatsoever, and that's why I'm here talking with you and all your great listeners. So it is probably, no matter what, it's extremely frustrating for those people who don't have a voice in some way, and they have to they don't know what to do. So just setting the tone a little bit here. Here we have the Secretary of Defense who goes to Normandy. I've been there, done that. Been to the cemetery. I have a great uncle who literally was killed there a few months after D-Day, but arrived within a few days of D-Day and is buried in the cemetery. It's just, if anybody who's been there, it's just unbelievably sobering is the best way. It's right out of the Tom Hanks movie, Saving Private Ryan, about am I worthy to live given the sacrifices of the people whose graves are there. And then this person, this TV personality misfit, drummed out of the National Guard major, who is our Secretary of Defense, he has the audacity to go and talk about, literally, I mean, no exaggeration, he's talking about the racist, warmongering, fascist, far-right ideals and disrespecting the whole purpose of that cemetery, of the sacrifices that were made back on June 6th. It's just, it's pathetic. And then you go from that to talk about how he is literally, I watch carefully all of the promotion lists for admiral or for general that have come out. And the bottom line is, up until literally this week, 0 women had been selected for admiral in a year, over a year. And that's statistically not possible. Even if you were to say, I mean, quite bluntly, I will tell you that most of the women that I had worked with in the military, they had to work harder, faster, and think quicker than their male counterparts because they were women. And I will tell you, they were awesome. And it was an honor to serve side by side with every one of them. And then, of course, going on beyond that, how he is literally driving away minorities, blacks, Hispanic, people who are, quite frankly, not white males. And then, of course, what he's doing to destroy our alliances around the world. And I promise I'll pause here in a second. Okay.
That's okay.
But, he's destroying our alliances around the world. And quite frankly, like many people during World War II, you had to separate what is propaganda compared to what are facts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so very important, is to hear things, to verify them through multiple sources and make your own judgment call. And I will tell you, I've said it before, this Secretary of Defense is a clear and present danger to the national security of the United States. Yeah. And we'll talk about it in a few minutes. So, sorry, I had to take a pause.
We respect you, and we respect your service, and we respect what you have to say. It's not an opinion when you speak, General Manner. I say that with all due respect. It is not an opinion. You speak in this way because you're steeped in experience and facts, and we need more folks who have your experience and who have your knowledge and also who have your care for our country to speak in the way that you just did, in an unfiltered way. I saw, I can't remember who it was just a couple of days ago, one of our congressional leaders was talking, armed services meeting, I believe it was, and you were standing in the background, and I kind of chuckled. I went, see, that's what we have to have. We have to have that flanking of the people who really know what the hell is going on and are willing to speak about it. I can't remember exactly who was the congressional leader that was speaking, but you were right there in the background. And it made me feel really proud to know that the folks who have served like you understand that the responsibility is here until we pass away, to make sure that we're working hard to protect our democracy and regain the stature that we had. I said this earlier, General, that a friend of mine, I've said this 3 times today now, that a friend of mine sent me an email yesterday because I was just frustrated about this UFC thing and saying to myself, you know, one of the things, we can get caught up in decorum, good, bad, or indifferent, but there's a certain thing that we have, as a country, have tried to do, and that's to have some respect and dignity about the things that we have called part of Americana. And we're coming up on a 250-year anniversary of our country, and we're about to have a UFC event on the White House lawn. And I just think about that in terms of loss of dignity and loss of respect and loss of, you know, any sort of elan that has come through with this administration and its cabinet. And I just want to get your take on that and how you see where we are in that space.
Sure. So, by the way, the picture you're referring to is I was standing with Senator Kelly.
Yes.
On the steps of the Judicial Building in Washington, D.C., where there were several admirals and retired generals and admirals who were supporting his freedom of speech, not only as a U.S. senator, but more importantly, perhaps, is as a veteran, and that he was being slammed by the Secretary of Defense in court. Of course, it's all falling apart completely by the Secretary of Defense, because it's not appropriate to silence veterans who speak up to truth. Quite frankly, we all have our opinions, and we should be allowed to speak them. And that is that's what those people fought for. One of the things those people fought for on D-Day, and that's one of the things that I stood up for. I was commissioned in 1976. That makes me pretty old, but what it tells all your listeners, I was at the Washington, D.C. celebrations for our 200th anniversary.
Yep.
And I was proud to be an American. And it was wonderful, all the things that were there on the mall of our nation's capital. And again, I was commissioned that year into the U.S. military and went on to the 82nd Airborne right after that. Here's the difference. This president has hijacked, for Washington, D.C. at least, he has hijacked the birthday of the United States, the 250th anniversary, to make it about thuggery and about blood and about macho white nationalism. And the only people who are going to show up are MAGA people. There will not be anybody else that's going to show up. So I encourage everybody, all your listeners, no matter what little town or medium town, small city or Chicago or anywhere else, celebrate the values and the liberty of our country by participating in your events in your local community. And you know what? Unless you're a MAGA quasi-fascist, then you don't need to go to Washington, D.C. and participate in this thuggery on the White House lawn.
Yeah, and that's, I just...
So I guess I can't be more clear than that.
No, in case you missed it, guys, show up in your local communities, as we should be anyhow. But stay away from Washington, D.C., because it is not the representation. And I remember, I'm just a few years younger than you, but I remember vividly the 200th anniversary celebration and what we did here in Chicago and how wonderful it was, and so many other cities. I love the right word. He's hijacked the beauty of what our country says it stands for. And listen, with all of our imperfections and all the things that we know are not right about our country, what we haven't allowed to happen is those things to be hijacked, the good things to be hijacked. Yes. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on this. General, we're going to take a quick little break, and then we come back. I want to talk to you a little bit about what's happening in the Middle East. 773-763-9278 is the number. I'm Richard Chu, sitting in for Joan Esposito, talking with retired Army General Randy Manner, and we'll be right back.
Hey, Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Now back to Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Hey guys, I'm Richard Chu, sitting in for Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, and we're talking with retired Army General Randy Manner. General Manner, let me ask you, there's two things that I want to make sure we cover before we wrap up today. In this time when leadership, and this is always, when I think about leadership, I think about you, because of the work that you've done, frankly, post your active duty service. And you talk about this in relationship to the 3 C's of resilience. And right now, more than ever, I think that's where we as regular everyday folks have got to find our way to push back on the lack of leadership on so many levels, particularly with our federal government. What are some of the things that you look at and say, here's what we should be doing when it comes to pushing back on the terrible leadership that we see right now?
So one of the most important things is to truly understand what are the facts and what is it that you are upset about. And sometimes whenever we look at social media, we can spin left or right. We can be divided much more rapidly than we should be because of the rhetoric that happens. We need to step back and really say what's going on. And this concept of resilience is so important. It means that we need to focus on what actions can we take instead of just yelling at ourselves or others or the far right or the far left or anybody else. What actions can we take? And that was why I've said, reach out, with your family, with your community, with your church, with volunteer groups, calling your congressman. By the way, here it comes again. The number to call is 202-224-3121. Again, 202-224-3121. You just ask to speak to your congressman, and then you will leave a message with your name and it doesn't matter if you have a right or a left person. Speak up about the issues. Don't be silent. Take action. And so I think that idea of breathing deep, don't let things overcome you, and focus on the good things and take action on the things you don't agree with. for example, one of the things that frustrates the crap out of me about this whole Iran thing, it is, by the way, very unclear what exactly caused that helicopter to crash. Was it a drone that quote unquote ran into it? That's very bizarre. One single drone. It was not a missile. It was not something like that. Or was it an accident? It's also extremely lucky. Thank goodness those two pilots were safe. Again, I've actually been in a helicopter that the engines failed and it was able to auto rotate down to the ground. Key phrase was ground, because the ground, you can settle on a hard surface and then the props can stop. They can stop on their own.
Right.
When you hit the water, it's not a hard surface. And as soon as that aircraft tilts and the blades hit the surface of the water, the entire aircraft disintegrates.
Yep.
So it is a major miracle that they survived. That's the first thing. Second thing, the fact that the United States could not pluck those pilots out of the water within 15 to 30 minutes, because remember, the distances are not large, by another helicopter are shocking. My military opinion is we did not have air superiority in the neighborhood, in the area, and so they didn't want to risk sending in additional helicopters, which, by the way, is pathetic because those guys spent 2 hours in the water where the Iranians could have gotten there first. I realize we did have jets flying overhead and drones, but the reality was those guys were still in the water and they were still vulnerable. So there's a lot more to this story. And then this crap that it was defensive fires, it was 5 hours later that we responded.
Right.
Well, I will tell you, the CENTCOM commander of all U.S. forces in the Middle East, if he's under attack, he has the authority without discussing it with the president to defend U.S. forces on his own.
Right.
It didn't happen. I'm going to hypothesize, but I hate to say it, Monday morning quarterbacking, which is dangerous, but I'm guessing they didn't know exactly where it came from, what exactly happened, and that
because that limits that. Sorry, but just to make to help with that point, not to help, but to jump on with that point, because that eliminates the options if you don't know exactly where it came from. Am I right or wrong?
That's correct. That is correct. And so, whenever 5 hours later there were attacks among at least 10 to 20 different locations. Well, that's a major escalation. That is not an eye for an eye the way the Iranians and the Israelis were doing it. They literally were doing that's the way it is in the Middle East. It's an eye for an eye. And then they de-escalate slowly. Whereas the United States, because of course this administration doesn't have any appreciation for the cultures in that area, one helicopter was down. It sounds like the Nazis. We're going to bury and we're going to destroy, we're going to execute 10 or 100 people because you attacked one. This was a major escalation. So the ceasefire is dead from a military point of view. Everyone is firing at everybody. The intensity of the battles are not high, but there's millions of dollars of equipment of weapons being used and expended, and our soldiers are at risk because of this continued insanity of this president for no reason.
Without the direction. And this, I want to come back to something that's very, it's a problem for me, and I know it's a problem for those of you who have served and watched this so closely. The use of our armament, if you will, has been very, very much degraded.
Yes.
Some people, the layperson language might be used up. And we don't really have, if I'm understanding things correctly from what I've read and tried to bone up on, we don't have the superiority of our military armament to do the type of surgical work that's needed if we to end this, if you will. And our next option is not an option that we can actually really go to. So we've kind of stalemated ourselves. Am I making any sense, General Manor?
Yes. So it's important to understand that while our military is the strongest in the world, strongest does have some Achilles heels. The best nation on the planet, despite what the president says, the best nation on the planet for the use of drones and counter-drone warfare is Ukraine. That is the #1 military right now in the world. They know how to counter it. They know how to be able to use them to attack, and they're the best. we're not there. And it's so insulting that our administration refused to accept Iranian advisors I'm sorry, I said Iranian, I apologize. I meant Ukrainian advisors to help our military to more rapidly learn about how to deal with this. And then, of course, again, for your listeners, we've expended between 1/4 and 1/3 of all of our major munitions for missiles and for counter missile defense. That's going to take us between 2 to 4 years to replace. But here's the problem. Even if we've got F-35s that can go in, we can attack targets, this Iranian regime is stronger than it ever was, despite the president's comments, because the last time I checked, the strait's still closed and they have a stranglehold on the world economy. And despite the president saying that the oil prices are not that high, yeah, let's ask the average American what he or she thinks of spending the extra $1 or $2 per gallon. And all of our allies are continued to be abandoned around the world at an ever increasing rate. It is actually shocking, discouraging about how fast this administration and the Secretary of Defense are destroying our military.
Yeah, the price of gas, I was actually thinking about this earlier today. I sat down and I've been doing this each month. And not only am I paying more, and I don't have a big car, a gas guzzler, but, up is up. I just kind of went through and I said I'm spending $65 and change more per month. It was in the 50s, it's at 65, and who knows what, sky's the limit. And I hate to say that in that vein, but it's more expensive, and to have to sit and wait for, as they said, this is a short-term solution for long-term gain. I've been a financial advisor for a long time. I know what that really is supposed to mean and what it's built off of.
So one last comment. The president today said, once this is all over, oil prices and gas prices will drop rapidly. Those are lies.
Yep.
It will take at least 3 to 6 months minimum to get the oil and gas back into the pipelines around the world, because we need to be mentally prepared for another surge of oil prices and gas prices as countries around the world lower their reserves.
Right.
And that means the demand for the remaining oil is going to even be more substantial. So buckle up. The prices, I'm going to tell you with 100% confidence, are going to go up 50 cents to $1 in the next 60 days.
Before they go back down. General Randy Manner, thank you as always for being with us, but more importantly, thank you for all that you do to keep us abreast of what's happening. Please stay safe, and I look forward to talking to you again soon, okay?
Thank you so much.
All right, be well. Talk to you soon. Let's take a quick break, Lady B. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Richard Chu. I'm sitting in for Joan Esposito. And when we come back, we're going to keep the military vibe going. We'll be talking with Amy McGrath. We'll be right back.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT Willow Springs, is powered by ComEd. Find rebates and discounts on energy-efficient products at ComEd.com/home savings.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Looking to purchase a home? Call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender with nearly 800 five-star Google reviews. People, Tom and Jenny, 2 kids, had outgrown their 1,000 square foot apartment with 640 credit scores, a combined income of $130,000, and limited savings. They called Team Hochberg for a free consultation. David answered their questions, introduced them to a realtor who found them a perfect home, and then helped them secure an FHA mortgage with just 3.5% down. Let's review. Before calling Team Hochberg, Tom and Jenny felt stuck in an apartment that no longer fit their growing family. After speaking with David, they secured an FHA mortgage and purchased their first home with only 3.5% down. If you are looking to buy a home with credit scores in the 600s with limited funds for a down payment, do what I or folks with Tom and Jenny and thousands of other WCPT listeners did. They called Team Hochberg at 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That number again is 855-563-2843 or visit that website, and love 56david.com. ACM Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 643-114. It's military afternoon, y'all. General Randy Manner was with us a moment ago, and he is just amazing. I know our next guest is very familiar with General Manner's success and contribution to this country and his ongoing fight to tell the truth about what's happening. Amy McGrath has become kind of my military wannabe sister down in Kentucky. She has done the thing that a lot of people won't do, is that she jumped into the fight politically. She's run for office and let us understand the importance of speaking her truth and letting the folks in Kentucky know that she's fighting for them. Amy, welcome back to WCPT. I'm sitting in, obviously, for Joan Esposito this afternoon, not my normal 6 to 8 a.m. slot, but good to see you. I'm glad you're well.
We are well. I mean, gosh, we're in the middle of this summer. It's about 90 degrees and feels like 115 outside, like it's a sauna. But boy, I'm doing well, and I'm so glad to hear that you're talking with General Randy Manner, because he is a patriot.
Man, I'm telling you.
And we need more folks like him speaking up, and he has been tremendous.
Yes, he has.
During this time in American history and speaking out.
You know what's great about him, and you do the same thing in your own way, is he cuts through the BS and just says, listen, y'all, that's a doggone lie, or that ain't true. That's not how it happens. What they're doing, I mean, he fills in what a lot of corporate media won't fill in and talk about. He just says that what Hegseth is doing is garbage. Those are my words, but it's garbage. And we need to talk about that 24/7, because lives are at stake, families are at stake, our country's national security is at stake. And so I'm always honored to talk to him, whenever I've had a chance to, and to listen to him. That's the other part, and I know you can appreciate this. When he's talking about what's going on, he gets it. You've been very vocal recently about some of the things that are going on with Hegseth, but more broadly, some of the things that have been happening with military promotions. Talk to us a little bit about that debacle that's going on right now, Amy.
Well, it's really unprecedented what's happening. So for people have to understand how it works in the military, particularly at the higher ranks, okay? So there's not that many admirals and generals, okay, to begin with.
It's rarefied air.
And that's the very highest rank. You don't get to be even looked at for admiral until you've been in the service at least like 25 years at that point. Maybe more. And to get to that point where you are selected, this is what the term we use, selected for admiral in the United States Navy or general in the United States Marine Corps, Air Force, or Army, you go through a board process. That is significant. It takes months. They go through all of your paperwork, all of your performance records. Everything you have ever done is scrutinized by men and women who are a higher rank than you.
Some of the smartest people on the planet get to turn you upside down and see what's in your pockets.
And if you and they take it, so out of 100 officers, they're only going to select 22 for admiral, or maybe it might even be more than 100 that go up for that promotion. And the board selects them. And it takes, like I said, weeks to do this. So it's a huge process. And then those names get put up they have to be commissioned. So it has to go to the White House. Normally, Richard, this is just kind of a stamp. All right. The White House doesn't have time to go through all of the promotions in the military. That's why we have promotion boards. Now you have a Secretary of Defense who's completely unqualified, who's never been promoted past the rank of major in the National Guard. Okay. So kind of a weekend warrior and kind of guy. And he pulls the names of, I think there were 9 of these 22 admirals. And some of whom were women and Black admirals or captains who are going to be promoted to admiral, and also some white men as well. But there's no reason to do this other than the fact that, he just doesn't like them. He doesn't like diversity. And what's happening here is that he's going through these records and he's pulling out anyone who had worked on a DEI project.
Yeah.
And now, remember, in the military, you don't get a choice. That's why they're called orders.
Right. I was like,
you get an order. You get ordered.
Did he forget? It's like
commanding officer.
Did he forget the playbook? You don't get it. You don't. I mean, you have a choice, but you end up being. That could result in a court martial. Worst case scenario, minimally, you could get deployment you don't want, or you could get a demotion, or your career could stall. But did he forget the playbook?
You are now the commanding officer of this base. You are now the head personnel person of the Marine Corps or the Navy that is assigned to work the diversity programs for the Navy 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's pulling these people and saying, we're not going to take them because we don't like these projects. And the same thing goes to the withdrawal of Afghanistan. Anybody that was associated with the withdrawal of Afghanistan, come on. You were assigned to that region. You did a good job, which is why you got through the board to begin with. And then he's going to pull those names. It is unprecedented. It is wrong. It is absolutely a politicization of the military to the highest degree. And unfortunately, I don't see this ending unless Hegseth leaves.
Well, Amy, the thing too that just came down today, and you probably already saw this, is this new ICE budget of $70 billion is about to be, in place until 2028. Many experts are saying. So we've got this one side of or not one side, but one of the parts of the triangle where the military is being defanged of its ability to operate in a somewhat autonomous way. I mean, I know that they're under the commander-in-chief and the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the hierarchy, therefore, set forth. But to now have ICE get all of this money to run around and pretend to be soldiers and not have any sort of guidelines or what's the word I'm looking for? Guardrails.
Well, there's no oversight.
Yeah, it's sort of like which way is up to take a name from a movie.
It's terrible. It's terrible, and unfortunately, right now with the Republicans having the House and the Senate and the White House, there's not a whole lot that can be done about this. Now, when Democrats win the House and hopefully win the Senate back, then you can start to rein some of this stuff in.
Yeah.
And
this money, from what I read, is kind of untouchable through 2028. So it's going to go through the rest of his term, it's going to go through the rest of the term of this presidency. And I say that with a little bit of tongue in cheek that many of us are wishing that the falling asleep is a scene out of one of the Godfather movies, sitting and you know what I'm talking about. Amy's her cheeks are flushing on this one because she's like, "Don't say it, Richard. Don't say it. I know what you're thinking, but don't say it."
Yeah.
So this is money that's going to be there for a minute, and unfortunately, I'm hearing already rumblings that they're looking at sending ICE back into New York City. For what purpose? I mean, really and truly, and this is where I think we as a country, and I was talking with General Manor about this, and I've been on this thing for the last couple of days, Amy, so bear with me. This conversation around, respectability and honor and dignity is out the window right now. And one of my concerns in that space is that it's going to continue to get worse to the point where even beyond this UFC event, that we are going to be continued to be looked down on by our foreign allies. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What are some of the conversations you're having with people that are in your world when it comes to how our foreign allies are looking at us right now?
Well, what I'm hearing is everybody's embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
They're embarrassed. Everything from, changing the name of the John F. Kennedy Center to the Arc de Trump to all of this stuff is just like people who are our former partners, allies that I serve with, we're like, what is going on in America? Like, what is going on? And that's not even to talk about the war that we started 4 months ago, that, our allies still are not on board with this. This idea that we start a war and then we're going to turn around and say, hey, to our allies and partners, you guys got to open up that strait. Help us open up that Strait of Hormuz.
Help us clean up the doo-doo that we left sitting there. And this is the part that it angers me, and I know for someone like you who actually served, to hear the threat that if you don't help us, then we're going to, reinstitute some tariffs, and we're going to, quote unquote, play hardball with you if you don't help us clean up the doo-doo mess that we made. That's affecting the entire global economy. It's craziness. Amy,
it's embarrassing, and it doesn't help us long term.
No,
it hurts our national security long term.
That's the thing.
We rely on our partners and allies. They were with us after 9/11. I fought alongside them in places like Afghanistan, and here we are treating them so poorly. It's embarrassing.
It totally is. Amy, we're going to take a tiny little break, and when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about what's happening in Ukraine and your thoughts there as it relates to resources being deployed or available. The number is 773-763-9278. You are listening to Live, Local, and Progressive. Joan Esposito. I'm Richard Chu, sitting in, and we're talking with my friend and military veteran, Amy McGrath. We'll be right back.
WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter.
Now back to Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Hey guys, Richard Chu sitting in for Joan Esposito. Last little bit before we wrap up today, we are talking with Amy McGrath, and you guys know Amy's dedication to the country, her fight in active duty military, and her runs for Congress. She has been one that has been unapologetically out there doing what folks in Kentucky, but the greater country need, which is voice to issues that we are all concerned about. And one of them right now, Amy, is, and it's almost, I don't want to say this in a way that sounds disrespectful, but it is sort of a conversation that we're not having as much as we were, and that's what's going on in Ukraine. And my question to you is, what do you think is the biggest danger right now with the war in Ukraine?
Well, unfortunately, I think we may already be past the biggest danger. With Ukraine, my worry when Trump got into office in that first year of his presidency was the fact that we would pull all aid, military aid, and that essentially has happened. There have been times when it appears like we're actually helping the Russians more than the Ukrainians.
Yeah.
But even with all that, Richard, the Ukrainians have been able to stand their ground, and actually defend and push forward, and that has been tremendous. In my belief, I mean, imagine what they could do with our support. I do worry that we as a country, because of our poor leadership right now in the national security front, are not learning the lessons from the Ukrainians. We should be side by side with the Ukrainians right now. They have the technology, they're developing it, they're in the fight. Now, those of us that have been in the military, nobody wants to go to war, okay? I remember being active duty. Nobody like says, hey, I want to go to combat. Some people do, but you respect the people that have done it.
Right.
Because exercises can only give you so much experience.
Live rounds are different.
Talk to the guys who come back.
Yeah.
And right now we should be talking and learning from the Ukrainians, and I fear that we are not. And that's a problem, because in the future, we have to have a robust national security. And this is what I'm working on the progressive side. We have to have leaders that understand what does it actually take to fight and compete in the world of 10 years from now. We need to be doing things like dispersal of troops, hardening our bases, making sure we have unmanned systems that can compete. We're seeing that right now because the American way of war of the past is not going to work in the future. And a lot of that is the partnerships and allies that we talked about earlier. We cannot disregard those.
And much, it's not a lot of what we've done in the past that we're doing now isn't working now. And General Manner talked a little bit about this in terms of the inability to determine what happened with this helicopter and the rescue plan that I know you're familiar with, given your service and what, as a fighter pilot, that was completely mucked up. And for the pilots that have to be in that much of harm's way for that length of time, it's, for me as a civilian, it's unforgivable of this administration, to be honest.
Well, the whole war and starting it without a strategic endpoint that could actually be won is unforgivable in my mind. Right now we're in this so-called ceasefire in Iran. Well, give me a break. We're still bombing them. They're attacking our bases in Jordan, in Bahrain. The Israelis are still bombing in Lebanon. It's a mess. This is the whole reason we never should have started it to begin with. Iran still has cards. They have still military capability. They have the geography card. They are not going to buckle here.
Amy, sometimes,
and remember, Iran is 3 times the size of Iraq.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, and I know you can appreciate this. Oftentimes, you can appreciate this. I say this as an African American man, and I say this to you as a woman. We've been underestimated all of our lives, personally, professionally, in other ways. And people think that we're less than for whatever reasons. And that's the same sort of guiding post that this administration has when it comes to Iran, that they're underestimating these folks in the Middle East because they're brown-skinned people. The depiction is that they live in huts and walk. You know what I mean? I'm being overly dramatic and maybe in a way, but they've been underestimated. But they're some of the smartest people on the planet, and militarily, they know what the hell they're doing.
Well, they've only had to deal with one region, and it's their own. It's their home region.
So they know it.
So they have the home field advantage here. And we are also led by a guy like Donald Trump, whose ego is running the show right now, who doesn't care about American troops. And also a guy in Pete Hegseth, who his idea of winning is just dropping bombs.
Yeah,
dropping more bombs on people. It is almost unbelievable. This is a guy when Pete Hegseth was nominated for Secretary of Defense.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of the first people to write an op-ed saying, we better be careful. This is a guy who thinks we lost the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq because we didn't bomb enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, crazy.
Okay, that is a major red flag for anybody that has studied these wars or been in these wars at the strategic level. I'm not talking about at the tactical level.
Right.
I'm talking about at the strategic level, which is actually how you win wars.
Yes. Tactical is well, we don't have enough time to talk about that today, but thank you for reminding me. I talked about that a few weeks ago in terms of the difference between and the relevance of tactical versus strategic. I got to ask you this question before we wrap up, and then I got to give you your flowers. What's your 30-second commentary on Pulte and the DNI post?
Totally unqualified. If I could say worse than Hegseth, as almost as bad. He is a total partisan. He has no national security experience, no intelligence experience, no experience in the military. The problem here is not just the inexperience. The problem is he is a man who will use classified information, America's secrets. Your taxpayer dollars go into protecting America with these secrets. He will use that information and those capabilities against political opponents of Donald Trump who are our fellow Americans. That is why he is a danger to our country.
Yeah, without a doubt. Amy, I have to say this to you. You have been just wonderful to know this last year, and I'm so honored that we've been able to build a relationship and a friendship. But thanks for running so hard in an area that's been difficult to win. But you've done what great leaders do and patriots do, and that is you've said, okay, I'm still in the fight, and I'm going to get behind the team and push us forward to get us across the finish line, which is hugely honorable in terms of the races that you run there in Kentucky, not coming out on top, but recognizing that the bigger win is the bigger win. So thank you for that. I really mean it, because I know that can be hard as hell to do, is to get behind the person that you didn't win, that you lost to, if you will. But thank you for that courage, and thank you for that decency and honor.
Well, I appreciate that. And, the night of the election when it didn't go our way, I came right out and, said, hey, we got to come together because I'm a team player. There's too many things more important than my own ego. Yep. And I've talked to the Democratic nominee here in Kentucky, and certainly on board. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be focused on Truth in the Barrel, which is my podcast, talks about these national security issues. That's where my focus is. And as you know, you've been on my show. And so we're excited to move forward there.
Absolutely. Amy McGrath, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. I appreciate you taking some time to hang out. Look forward to talking to you soon. I got to get with you again on Truth in the Barrel so we can chop it up.
We'll do that. We took a little bit of a break, but we're coming back in a couple weeks.
Sounds good. Be safe, my friend. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right, Richard. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Guys, thanks for being with us today. Thanks for letting me sit in for Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. You can catch me tomorrow morning. I'll be right back here, 6 o'clock, Choose Views on WCPT. Looking forward to our guest tomorrow. And what can I tell you? Just keep staying in the fight, guys. Like Amy said, stay in the fight. Find something to do. Get involved and make sure that you are part of the process. I'm Richard Chu. I'm going to sign off for now. You guys have a great evening. And stay tuned for who? Patty Vasquez.